Good afternoon, folks. It's Brian again with Survival on Purpose. I'm going to show you a really cool piece of gear. I like it anyway. It's called a Bio-Lite wood stove. And I bought this actually about 9 months ago. I was on the way to going on a canoeing trip to the Okefenokee Swamp with my Boy Scout troop, and thought it'd be a pretty cool way to cook my food and charge my phone at the same time. And that's what's so neat about this. I want to show you. This is a stove. It's a Bio-Lite stove, and the feature that's really cool about it is not only does it allow you to use wood for a fuel to cook on the stove, and there are a lot of wood stoves out there. This one's got a couple of little advantages. It's got this battery pack slash fan slash charger that is included in it. And so what it does is, let me just put it together and I'll show you, then we'll flip the legs out here on the bottom. Okay, you take your little battery pack, push the whatever this thing is, this heat probe, into, and you lock this in the bottom like this. Okay, and then flip your leg out to lock it in. Okay, so now it's locked in one piece. Comes with a little grill top to go in it to kind of help balance your cooking pot or whatever. But what's really cool about it is, in addition to just having a plain wood stove, as this little thing here gets hot, it generates electrical current, which charges this battery pack, which in turn powers a fan, which blows. It's got little holes on the inside. It's kind of dirty, you can't see them, but it actually accelerates the fire and kind of works like a bellows on a forge. So it gives you a lot hotter fire and with some wood. So, and also once it gets charged up, you can use the USB here and charge your phone. So what I thought we'd do, there's a lot of videos on the internet showing this thing in operation and showing different things. I'm just going to kind of give you my take and my pros and cons on it. I've actually used this thing in the field to cook on, and you know, it's got some pluses and minuses, and I'll go over those with you real quick. So first, let me get the camera readjusted and show you what we got to do here. Actually, I almost forgot one thing. When you buy the stove, they give you some fire starters, and it's really these little cheesy cardboard kind of fire starters. Not really a big fan of them. They work, but they don't last very long. You're going to run out pretty quick. So what I like to try to do, and I'll have a video coming out about this soon. I don't know if you can see that, but see that color? And this is fat wood. I got this from a pine stump, and you can see inside all this that goldish color. Here's a really good one. Okay, that's called fat wood or pitch wood. I actually saw a box of it at Walmart the other day for $10 for a box of probably about this big, full of sticks. So you can buy this stuff all over the place. People sell it, or you can find it if you live around some pine trees. I found mine, so I'm going to process it down a little bit to help get the fire going, and then you just basically put whatever kind of sticks you want. So now I'll readjust the camera and I'll show you where we're going with this. Okay, got my old hickory butcher knife here, and just going to go ahead and split off some little pieces of this fat wood. Gather up a pile. So one thing, if you're trying to chop, this is obvious, fat wood is a little more difficult to split because of the resin content. Just really makes it almost kind of very springy and resilient, so it doesn't just break very easily. So what I like to do is just kind of get started and then let the way the knife itself do it. So go ahead and split some of this up, and I'll be right back. So this old hickory knife, I did a review on in another video, is pretty sharp, but it's not as sharp as it's going to be when I finish here. It's not really sharp enough to make really great feather sticks, and it's kind of tough to make a feather stick. And if you don't know what a feather stick is, I'm going to talk about that in another video. It's basically just a way of making some really shavings on a stick so they'll catch fire really easily. So I'm going to use this for a fire starter instead of the fire starters that came with the stove. But this knife is not really quite sharp enough. But we're gonna go ahead and try to keep using it. So you want a few of these, and that's a kind of a good started one, but got a lot of those little curlies on. Gives you a lot of surface area to catch fire. And with this being fat wood, it'll flame up pretty well. But you can see that's almost translucent right up there. That's just the resin content of this pine wood. It's really, really good for starting fires. Let me make a couple more of these and get right back to you. Okay, I've switched to my Pathfinder trade knife, which is a lot better for making feather sticks. It's just a lot sharper, holds an edge a little better. I've done a review on it also. It's a really good knife. But that's why I elected to try to use the old hickory knife, just to check it out and see what shortcomings it has. It needs to be sharpened a little better. That's one of the shortcomings. So, but even with a really good knife like this, a really sharp knife like this Pathfinder trade knife, and when you're trying to do a feather stick through fat wood, it just feels really it's hard to describe. It feels just kind of wet and thick, sticky, really sticky, and it's almost like this. I mean, it really is. It's almost like a hard, waxy feel. But you can see. Now, usually you'll do this up on one side, but I'm trying to maximize the. And man, you can smell that. If you can smell that, it smells so much like turpentine. It's very high resin content in this wood. So once again, get a couple more of these and we'll show you about the stove. Okay, so in addition to the fat wood, I have got some pieces of pine and whatnot here. Just some small sticks that you're able to pick up. You can tell the way that snaps is really dry, so that's kind of wood you want to find. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put one of these in the bottom. Just give it a little something to go with. And then that's one of the, I'll take this off for now. One of the challenges of this stove, I guess, is you gotta leave yourself some room to get your starter down at the bottom, because you want the wood to catch. And obviously heat rises, so you want the source of your flame to be at the bottom. So I generally start out with not as much wood to get the flame going, and then you can go ahead and add wood as it goes. So we're going to go ahead now, show you how this lights pretty easily. See how quickly that lights and how quickly it burns. I'll put that down on the bottom now, and now we can add some more little pieces of fat wood on top of it. And we've got enough flame there that we should have no problem from now on out. So, and I put the fat wood in first to kind of maintain the flame and get it going, and then we'll put some other wood in on top of it. This is going to burn for a good long time, and it's going to maintain enough of a heat source to get the other wood going. So again, that in my mind is one of the drawbacks to this stove, as opposed to just a fuel gas type stove. With a fuel gas type stove, you just start cooking. You light the flame and you're ready to go. With this stove here, you have to kind of let it get hot. So you have to build a little fire, and then you have to kind of let it get going. And you'll see on the front, there's a button on the front here. If you push that button, you see the little light is orange, says low. It starts, basically the fan comes on and starts accelerating the fire. You can see what it did. So as you keep putting the wood in, what you're going to see eventually in a minute, and let me grab my cord. You see it starting to do a little vortex. You're going to see this light come up over here, which is ready to go to high. And you need to let it burn for just a little while. I'm going to go ahead and plug in before it gets too hot, plug in my USB so I can show you the phone is going to charge in just a minute. So we'll get that plugged in now. Keep putting some more wood on it as the fire goes up. So you got to build this thing. Now it's also just good for a heat source if you're under a tarp, which is not a bad idea too sometimes in the winter. So just keep putting some wood in there as it builds up. And it's not going to start charging until you're able to put it on, until the other light comes on, you're able to put it on high. But if for some reason you want to turn the fan off, you can just push that red button and hold it down. Now it's on high, it's green, it should be charging. If you just hold it down completely, it'll turn off. So you want to turn it on, that's gonna increase your burn. But you can see on the iPhone here that I've got 27%, and you can see it's not charging. So if I plug it in now, it's still not charging. Now when I push, see if you can watch this, see what happens. I push it to on, and still not charging yet. So it's got to build up a greater charge in here before it'll charge. So we're going to give it a minute. Okay, just going to keep watching this. I'll probably pause the video so you're not having to just watch continually. Go ahead, you can see the size of that flame there. That's a pretty good flame coming out of that thing. And it is still not charging. So let's keep it going for a minute. Let's see how long it takes for that thing to charge, or to start charging. Okay, actually, it is charging now. So it only took it about a minute or two to start charging, and you can see, well, so you can see the little charging thing there on the battery. It's not a big indicator, but it is definitely charging. If you unplug it, you can see it's not charging now. Plug it in, you can actually hear the fan come back down, so it's charging. So now it's not charging as fast as it would be if you plugged it in. But what's really good about it, it's not in addition to charging your iPhone, you can cook on it. So, and this thing obviously is a pretty hot flame. It's going to boil water just as fast as any other stove. The downside is you got to feed this thing. You got to have wood. But if you're looking for a pretty neat little gadget that's actually very functional, so it's a very contained fire. You can charge your phone and warm your hands at the same time. You probably don't want to put anything in much bigger than this, but it works great. And the only challenge I've had with it is sometimes you have to remove your pot to put some more wood in it, but that's not a huge deal. So there you have it. And as long as you keep putting wood in it, it'll keep burning. We saw that it started charging the phone. It was at 26%, now it's at 27% now. So I'm going to let this thing go. I'm probably going to pause the video now and just see how long it takes it to get, add maybe 10% to the phone, and I'll let you know. I'll be back. Okay, folks, that's Brian here. I actually had to reshoot this little portion, the ending portion of the review on the Bio-Lite cook set. I kind of talked about it for a minute, and after I got finished, I realized I had turned my mic off and left it off. So, rookie mistake, please forgive me. But you saw how it did. I think the one thing I wanted to point out was it actually, at the towards the end, I let it die down a little bit, let the fire die down, it quit charging. So you definitely have to, like any fire, you have to maintain it. If you keep it burning, it will charge. and it will actually cook your food. And this charge is slow. It gave it maybe 1% on the iPhone about every 2 or 3 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes maybe, but it definitely was charging as long as you keep the fire going. To get a full charge on an iPhone, it's going to take a while, but to get enough to make an emergency call, it probably would take you maybe 10 or 15 minutes of a good hot fire. So that's a plus. Again, this is probably not going to be my #1 backpacking camping stove for general use, just because I like the convenience of being able to hook a bottle up to a stove. I use a little butane type stove. Turn it on, light it, and start cooking it right away. You're good to go. But the advantages of this stove over that kind of stove are that you don't have to carry fuel, or if you run out of fuel, you know, you're not going to run out. As long as you got some kind of wood, you can burn any kind of wood. Anything that basically will burn. And you can also use it for a heat source. If you're, if it's cold, you can kind of get your hands warm over it a lot better than a regular stove. And it'll charge your phone, charge your device. So that's the Bio-Lite camp stove, cook stove. Pretty handy deal, especially for a longer term situation where you're going to be out and you don't want to carry a bunch of stuff and you don't have to worry about running out of fuel or whatever. So I hope this review's been helpful. This is Brian with Survival on Purpose. I appreciate you watching my channel. I appreciate your subscriptions. Be sure and check out all my other channels. Give me that little thumbs up if you like it. And remember, survival is not an accident. See you next time.